All right, let's get started. So thanks everybody for joining. My name is Allison Ellis. I'm the EVP of Sales here at Godlan and really excited about today's webinar. We're going to focus in on CPQ, but specifically the product visualization piece. So revolutionizing the buying experience with product visualization. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. If you're a current CPQ user, you're really going to like it with this whole idea of bridging the gap between what you're doing today on the manufacturing side of CPQ with kind of your VP of marketing or your VP of sales and accelerating the sales and the product. You're new to CPQ, it will also be exciting to get to see some of the things that you can do to paint the vision of how you get there with product visualization. So you're in for a treat. Matt, who is on the Godlan team and has done all things CPQ, is going to talk to you and introduce himself. But he is certainly one that has had a lot of experience with this product visualization recently. So ask away with your questions. There's a question and answer functionality in the Zoom that you're on. So feel free to ask questions. We will ask him anything, and anything we don't get to, we'll follow up with you. But with that said, Matt, why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thank you, Allison, and welcome again, everyone, to today's webinar, Revolutionizing the Buying Experience with Product Visualization in Infor CPQ. Again, my name is Matt Spinullo. I'm a CPQ Client Solution Specialist here at Godlan. A little bit about myself. I've been working with the Configurator product for about 13 or so years now. Going all the way back to my days at TDCI, which was the original company who created the Infor CPQ utility that was eventually purchased by Infor. I did 2 tours of duty, if you will, at Infor Direct, and now I've been lucky enough to come on as Godlan as a pre-sales solution specialist CPQ engineer. So during my time working with the product, I have been very, very blessed to work with a multitude of different manufacturers all around the world, both domestic and globally. Just threw up a couple of pictures here from some of my travels. I think that the top left is myself in Florence, Italy. The next is in Banff, Canada. The next, obviously, Sydney, Australia, where I spent a couple of months in a row, basically living down there, doing a project from start to finish in 3 months was quite an undertaking. But couldn't think of a much better place to spend that amount of time. The Aussies are some good folks. Then down at the bottom, out in London, England, as well. And I've been to many more places: Turkey, Germany, Malaysia, kind of all over the globe, and to about 46 of the 50 states implementing this product. So I've been around for a bit, and yeah, I'm really happy to share some of my experience and some of the cool new things we're doing with CPQ, specifically around visualization, with all of you here today. So here with Godlan, we have over 80 plus CPQ customers in a whole bunch of different verticals here. You'll see, companies from all sorts of different areas of manufacturing. A number of these as well I've had a hand in working with as well, to name a few: Gorman Rupp, Herman Miller, Patterson Pump, Stylemark, Fabco Air, just to name a few of them here. So you may see a company that you guys recognize on this list, or maybe one of your own as well. So let's kind of talk about just kind of at a high level still. We envision this product as one CPQ for the enterprise. So it's not just necessarily Infor products that it works with. Obviously, we can integrate with pretty much anything. It's a global CPQ. We can work with Oracle, we can work with Microsoft, e-commerce such as Magento, Shopify, CRMs like Salesforce, CAD PLM systems are kind of the backbone of a lot of what we're talking about here today. We work with all of them: SolidWorks, Autodesk, PTC, etc., as well as direct to your website as well. So that's really kind of the power of this tool. It's excuse me, it's ERP agnostic. And basically we can make it work with whatever application that you may be running, if it's not necessarily an Infor type of system. So let's talk a little bit about the buying experience. So buying has become a much more visual experience, especially in the past few years. We've all been affected in one way or another by the COVID-19 pandemic, and our web presence, our marketing strategies, the way we sell, the way we get customers to interact with our products is becoming even more and more critical to the landscape of business these days. And really, when it comes down to it, it's a melding of the commercial needs, what's needed for the business to manufacture, build, spec out the products, and also the creative side. Having your marketing folks be able to be creative and show your product in the best light possible. We bring those two together to give a seamless experience to the end user. So what we really want to focus on is retaining customers, drawing in new customers, and then keep those new customers coming back to us again and again. So some recent market trends that we've been seeing in the space, 83% of customers are really pointing to product imagery as being the most influential factor in their buying decisions. So, I mean, that's an insane number right there, guys. Think about it. You may have the coolest, best quality product out on the market, but if you don't showcase it in a way that really draws the eye and the desire of your customers, you might get beat out by someone else who has maybe not as good of a product as yours, just because theirs potentially looks and shows better than yours. 50% of customers have already identified what they need before they even may have that first engagement with one of your internal sales reps or dealers or distributors. They've already done their research. They've gone online. They've built, configured. They know exactly what they want and how they want it before they even talk to us. So being able to get that information in their hands so they can make a calculated and intelligent decision is really, really key. And also 75% of first-time users will continue using digital channels into the future, and we only see that number growing. Like I mentioned, the consumer expects much more than we may have given them in the past. One of the big trends right now we're seeing is augmented reality, or AR, the ability to actually take a product that was built, configured, specified, and view it in the area of the space of its intended use. Think of if you're building out a new office or a building or something like that, and you need to configure a dental chair, for example, is a customer we're working with right now, to be able to see what that chair, what all the dental tools, the cabinetry, things like that look like in their new office space as they're building it out. The ability to visualize that is just absolutely priceless when it comes down to it, to help them make that decision and see, is this going to look good? Is it going to fit? Things like that. Does it match with the rest of the decor that I'm envisioning for my particular space, right? So being able to actually see the product in its intended use is absolutely huge. And as we're seeing as well too, customers are looking for more than just a couple of images. 5 or so years ago, you may have gotten away with just showing your product from 3 different angles. Now it's gone up to at least 8, and that was from 2019. It's probably even more now, but I wasn't able to find something for 2022 quite yet, but I imagine it's probably in the likelihood of 10 or 11 at this point. So how have the user expectations changed? So, I'm going to kind of walk through this from a good, better, best mentality. Okay. And I'm going to show you guys all of these through some of the demonstrations that we're going to go to here in a little bit as well. So kind of, your starting point when you're starting to think about visualization, get your core stuff in there first. Get your product configured, get your bill of materials, get your pricing, your routings, things like that. Get that all done first. And then, definitely start to look at how to represent your product. So, having a stock image of the product is a good start. I've seen many of our customers in the past. They've got absolutely awesome configuration models. It's got all the bells and whistles. It works perfectly. It's great. And they don't even put a stock photo or something like that up of their configuration product. Even having that as a starting point is a step in the right direction, right? Baseline configurator, even, with no add-ons, with no additional work, it's very, very easy to build out some dynamic photo libraries, upload them to your config content directory. And as you're going through your configuration process, switch to a couple different views of the product. Show, as you're working on the accessories, show that particular area of your machine. If you're configuring an interior and an exterior, switch between some different photos of the interior versus the exterior. Even something as simple as that can really go a long way with helping the user throughout their journey. Kind of the next step up from that is interactive 3D models, or 2D models as well too. I should also add. So, included with the configurator licensing, you have access to our 2D and our 3D CAD drawing packages. Okay, so being able to view your configuration, to have it flex by dimensions as you change the sizes or the height and the width of your product. Think about a window or something, or a door or something like that. Being able to show that changing in real time as you add options is really, really invaluable to helping the customer start to see the impact of the changes that they're making in the configuration. And then kind of at the top end of the stack here, we have augmented reality. And that's really what I'm going to be showing most of today, is going to be our new visual configurator offering that we have as an option that you can add on to your CPQ license, where you can actually view in 360-degree rotatable 3D space the product that's being configured. It's more than just changing colors and adding and removing components and things like that. It's being able to look at that from every different angle, adding lighting, adding scenes behind the configuration to be able to visualize where it might be used. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, being able to see it in your particular space through the use of augmented reality. So what can this do for you guys? This is the $1 million question everybody wants to know, right? Is what's this going to do for me? I'm going to make this investment. What am I going to get back out of it, right? We've found that customers who have implemented visual configuration are starting to get a return on their investment in less than 9 months, less than a year, guys. Pretty impressive there. So what kind of things can we expect? A better overall customer experience, goes without saying, right? 40% increase conversion rate from quotes to orders. I think nobody in this particular room would say no to that. 90% savings in your photography savings, right? We have customers who were kind of just using stock photos and things like that, and it's insane the amount that they actually spend to build out these these photo libraries to be able to use in their configurations, right? It really is a very manual effort for somebody to go in there and make sure all the lighting is right, to make sure the product looks good, to save off all the images, to edit them, to size them, et cetera, et cetera. It's a ton of work. If you just build a single visual configuration model and then plug it into the CPQ tool, it removes all of that and it makes it all completely dynamic. So huge savings there. 80% fewer returns, right? If a customer is able to see a representation of what they're going to buy before they buy it, it's highly unlikely that they're going to make any mistakes, and they're going to end up having to RMA or return that to you guys in order to make sure that they get what they want. And it also helps with the order value. We're seeing 20% higher order value here as well. It's much easier to sell an add-on if it's more than just checking a box, right? If I can check the box and I can see the impact that's going to have on the product that I'm going to be receiving, I'm much more likely to actually choose that add-on option. And then obviously higher customer lifetime value is essentially the end result. You're retaining your customers, you're drawing in new, and you're keeping them as well. So kind of just a quick slide about some of the features that we're going to be taking a look at here today. And over on the right, I've got kind of a video showing some of the capability of the visual configurator when it comes to configuring the sofa, being able to change the fabrics, change the colors, change the scene that it exists in, and be able to see it from a 360-degree view. So just a point to mention, in order to use the visual configurator, it does require the CPQ Cloud Edition. We probably have some customers out there who are currently still on premise, and that's okay, right? Obviously, we know the way of the world is going going cloud at this day and age. So if you see this and you love it, and you think, hey, I've got to have it, this is critical to my business, let's chat. There's a very seamless upgrade path that we can get you on, and you can work with my team and myself to figure out how to get you there. But I just wanted to make that known kind of ahead of time. If you're already on, the latest version, if you're on the cloud, great. Let's have that conversation as well. So some of the things that we're going to be looking at today, I mentioned rotation, zoom, dragging, things like that, being able to view the product from every angle and very up close as well too, to see some of that nitty gritty detail that you might need to know. You can also set up point and click zones within your model. If I want to, potentially click on the feet of this couch, for example, being able to link various areas of the 3D model to the actual options within the configuration that are corresponding with it, and be able to easily go back and forth between those makes it a really seamless and easy process. Being able to explode or then collapse the 3D models, we're going to take a look at that as well. Being able to see the individual componentry that all makes it up, a really cool feature we have there as well. Obviously, as I'm configuring my particular product, being able to add or remove components, being able to see the impact that has on the product in real time, resizing, and a new feature we have as well too is being able to detect for collisions, if you will. So I'm going to show you that with the shed that we're going to build here today, making sure that we position various components of the configuration in the correct place, where they're not necessarily overlapping, where they're not out of bounds, if you will, but making sure that we've got the rules to handle that stuff, but also being able to do it on the model itself is really important. So you can make sure where you're positioning your various configured add-ons or things like that are in the right position. And then also the mobile experience, being able to do this from anywhere. We're going to have an interactive portion of this here as well too, where I'm going to have you guys pull out your phones and try it as well. But being able to, having the visual configurator and having the cloud edition is so important, along with the V2 config engine, allowing this to be fully mobile optimized from any device, phone, tablet, Chromebook, whatever. Is really clutch. It's really, really important too for our sales teams who are out on the road all the time, like I am, being able to hit this environment from anywhere, and not have to worry about having the right PC, or if their PC goes down or something like that, they're going to still be able to work. Okay. All right, I've bored you guys enough with the PowerPoint. Let's get into it here, and I'm going to start showing you guys some various examples of CPQ and visualization in action. Okay, so let's switch over now to here. All right, so let's dig in. So I am now in the enterprise quoting application. Some of you folks who have been using this for a while may recognize this a bit. Enterprise quoting is essentially our cloud version replacement for the Infor sales portal, also previously known as channel sales way back in the day as well. But this is kind of the new version of our quoting and ordering system. So I'm going to take you guys kind of through this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new quote in my enterprise quoting utility. I'm going to select a customer here. I'm going to choose coordinated industries, and I'm going to pick a contact here. We're going to go with we'll go with Mary Smith here. All right. So if you guys remember back to the slide where I mentioned kind of good, better, best, I'm going to kind of walk you guys through that here as well, and focusing towards the tail end more on the best. Okay. But let's kind of walk through it. Crawl, walk, crawl, walk, run. That's a tongue twister. It's a pretty good one, actually. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to configure a truck cover. Okay. So I'm going to launch my configuration. I'm now into the CPQ utility here itself. Okay. And this, I'm going to show you first kind of the first example. This is going to be our crawl, right? Let's have a dynamic image library sitting behind the scene. And as I go through and I pick options in my configuration, I'm going to update that image to a new one. Okay. So we see over on the left side, we've got some kind of base options. I've got a series and I've got a finish, right? So I've got kind of a stock image here, but I'm going to go through, I'm going to pick the HD cover and I'm going to pick smooth black. You can see my image has now chosen the correct one for me. I'll switch it over to aluminum. There it is as aluminum. Let's switch the series to the 270 or the 180, for example, and it's updated to that particular image, right? And obviously, you know, you guys are probably familiar with the CPQ utility and how it works as well too. You'll see based on the series I select, the available finishes to me. So I'm going to go through, and as I'm picking my options here, it's going to build up my detail of my pricing here over on the right side as well. So it's going to ask me what kind of truck do I want. I'm going to choose a Chevy, and because I chose a Chevy, it's going to give me the options that are only available for Chevy. If I switch it to Dodge, it's going to give me my Dodge models here as well. I'm going to pick a model year range, and I'm going to choose a bed length for my truck. But none of this really is having any further impact on my particular image here. But you know, I can go through and I can pick a couple of accessories, build up my pricing, gives me a part number at the end, happy times, total price down here, good to go. Let's go ahead and finish that. We're gonna add it to my shopping cart. I now have my truck cover here on line 1 of my quote. Okay, so let's kick it up a level. In addition to my truck cover, I'm gonna add a trailer to my quote here. Okay, so I've got just kind of a standard image for my trailer here. Let's go ahead and pick the type of trailer that I want. We're gonna do an aluminum sheet and post trailer, and I'm gonna say I want it 34 long and 10 feet 8 inches tall, and I'm gonna do 98 inches for my exterior width. Okay, so now here's an example of our 2D configuration of our Flex 2D here engine. So over on the right hand side, you'll see I now have a dynamic line drawing of our particular trailer. So 34 long by 10.8 wide, or 10.8 high, excuse me. And I've got a 36-inch distance between the front and the kingpin right here. So if I were to switch this over to 42, I now have 42-inch there. Let's make it a little bit longer. Perhaps I need a 45, and you'll see here now that my height that I picked, the 10-foot 8-inch tall, was no longer available. The system has cleared it out for me because it's no longer valid. It's enforcing those business rules to make sure I pick the right thing. So I'm going to pick a 13, and you can see now I've got a 45 by 13, and I've got 2 axles on here currently. Let's go ahead and switch it to a 3-axle trailer. Third wheel now kind of comes into view. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to finish this configuration real quick. I'm not going to dwell on all of these various options. Go ahead and pick that. And you can see as I'm going through, as I mentioned earlier, the various areas that I'm at in the configuration, it's going to show me important images to that particular area as I'm going through here. And, you know, in addition to kind of just the dynamic imagery, guys, that we focus, you'll notice in most of my configurations, I have a lot of pictures over on the left side of the screen for the options. Showing images there is really important, and it's really helpful to an engaging experience for the end user. It may not be that important for your power users, your internal folks, your experts and things like that, but being able to have images in there for your end users, for your customers, for your newer users, for anyone external to the company is really important. All right, so my quote's kind of coming together here now. I got my truck cover, I got my semi-truck trailer in here as well. And now we're going to get into some of the really cool stuff. All right, So I'm going to add another item to my quote here. And I need to get one of these myself for my home. A guy can dream, right? So we're going to do a hot tub. Okay. So I'm going to go through here and I'm going to start making a couple of selections here. And now you'll notice here I have a new tab available for me on the right side. And this is where we're going to start talking about the visual configurator. Okay, so now that I've picked a collection and a model, I'm now able to see a 360-degree rotatable, near photorealistically accurate depiction of the product that I'm configuring. Okay, so I'm going to come down here past that, and I need to pick a cabinet color. It's defaulted one in here for me, but let's say instead of this, gray that I've got picked, I'm going to go ahead and pick a walnut, or maybe I like bronze better. And you'll see it's going to actually show me what those look like. Based on the cabinet color here, the shell color of the inside of the hot tub is obviously going to be filtered as well too. Let's do the Tuscan sun. Wow, that is really brown. But maybe I like that, right? I think this looks a little bit more understated perhaps, and looks kind of nice for me. So you'll see over here too, I have the explode view. What I can do is I can hit that, and it's actually going to show me, it's going to explode this out into all of its various component parts, where I can actually see all of the gadgets and gizmos that go into making up my hot tub, all of the jets, all of the various filters, things like that. Just gives you a really kind of cool way to visually inspect that. And when we do this as well too, I'll show you on a later model that we take a look at, you can make this interactive as well too. Between this particular one is not, but doesn't mean that it couldn't be, right? I mean, I can get really in here too, guys. Like I can get all the way down and look at these individual jets and speakers and things like that. I can really kind of get my head in there and take a look at it and just say, hey, what's it going to look like if I'm, sitting here and lounging in this spot right here and kind of taking a load off after a hard day's work, right? So I'm going to go ahead and finish this configuration. Let's go back to a normal type of view here. Maybe I'll add a couple of accessories on here. I say I need a cover, I want a handrail, and I need 3 steps on here. Don't have those visualized yet as part of the model, but it'll build it out into my pricing, but could very easily add those to the configuration here as well into the model to show all of that as well. Okay, so I'm happy with my hot tub. It's only going to cost me about 19 grand. Not too bad, right? Go ahead and add that to my quote as well. Okay, what are we going to take a look at next? So the next thing we're going to look at, and this one's probably going to start to resonate a little bit more with most of the folks on this call. I took a quick kind of peek at the attendees list. We've got a lot of people from discrete heavy manufacturing, things like that. I'm going to configure an electrical transformer. So what I'm kind of trying to do here, guys, I'm trying to kind of build it up at layers upon layers of, as you go through this journey, if you will, adding more and more of these features and functions to really make this an amazing experience. Okay, so here's my transformer configuration. I'm going to pop over to my visual configuration tab here as well. I haven't really picked anything yet, so I've just got kind of a base looking kind of boring transformer here at this point, right? But again, I can hit my explode view and I can take a look. Here's all the various components of this transformer that I have here, right? So let's go through and we'll configure this thing. I'm not going to dwell too much on the various options here again. So I'll go through and I'll pick some of these options. Got my winding material, my temperature rise, electrostatic shield, efficiency, things like that. Go over to my options and accessories. I can choose this. Maybe I want a wildlife guard to keep all those pesky critters and skunks and squirrels and stuff out of my transformer. Oh, it's going to prompt me. I shouldn't have clicked both of those. Please select only one guard because I tried to pick the mega guard as well, the wildlife guard, and those two aren't able to be compatible together. So the system's going to prompt me so I don't make a mistake, right? I'm going to go through and I'm going to keep doing this. All right, so let's take a look at our transformer here. Let's explode it again. so I can take a look at the components. And you can see here through my configuration, I have the ability to add spare parts as well too. So maybe I'm building this particular transformer, and these things are hardworking machines, right? Certain things are going to wear out throughout the use of my transformer, right? Things like the mounting bushing, for example. These are kind of throwaway, replaceable parts that when I'm building one of these machines, I may want some extras of these in case one of these mounting bushings goes bad and the thing starts to rattle and make a bunch of noise, right? So I can add those. I can simply come in here and I can add them on the right side of my screen. Or what I can do is I can come over to my configuration model, and as I'm kind of inspecting this thing, I say, oh, what is this particular part right here? This mount. If I click on this right here, you'll see it takes me right over to the mounting bushing spare part. And if I want to see what this particular part is here, up here, if I click this one here, and we can do some highlights and things like that too on mouse over, and I'll show you that in a different model as well too. But this one, you just kind of click on it, and this one down here is my long bracket. If I click that one right there, you'll see it's not taking me to the long bracket. I'm gonna add a couple of these spares. Let's say, well, I got 4 of those here. It's best to buy them in 4, right? So maybe I'll get 4 of those suckers. I got 3 of the short brackets. I'll pick 3 of those. And how many mounting bushings do I have here? Well, I don't need to know. I can look. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, right? So I'm going to order 4 of those. So I have a spare of every single one of these, because if I replace one, I'm probably going to want to replace them all, right? It's like when something goes wrong with your car, you don't just replace one of your tires. They say, hey, you got a nail in one, you got to replace all 4 of them, right? It sucks when that's happening to you, but it's good if you're the one selling the tires, right? So okay, so I've got that done here. I'll take a look at my detail here. Okay, I'm happy with that. Got my price calculated for me. Oh, I forgot to mention this piece. So I'm going to collapse this back down. You can see down here, I have the ability to show or hide components. I can take this whole cover off. Instead of just doing the explode view, I can just click show cover and just take the cover off and just look at kind of the internals. Maybe I want to dump the coil out of there too, and remove that to just see kind of the base machine here as well. Okay, we're going to add those back though. All right, I'm happy with my transformer here. We're going to finish that configuration as well. Add that one to my back and down to my shopping cart. So I got my hot tub we did, got my transformer here. And you'll notice here as well too, in addition to just the transformer that I configured, and you'll see some of these too, my shopping cart can be dynamic. I can choose what options from my configuration come back to the cart. So, for the semi-truck trailer, these were the ones that I selected, I want to show. The truck cover, we didn't send any of that data back, but we obviously could have, right? But for this transformer here that I did, a cool thing that we now have the ability to do with enterprise quoting and Cloud CPQ is the ability to add tables. This one in particular is called, configuration details, but what these actually are, and here are the spare parts, right? Maybe I should call this spare parts, to be a little more clear, but that's okay. So it said, hey, I ordered 4 of these particular part numbers of these rubber mounting bushings. I ordered 3 of the short L brackets and 4 of the long L brackets here. So if you remember, those were the spares that we added in that configuration, and it's also added them here to my cart as well. All right. So as you can see, we're kind of getting more and more advanced here, right? Let's do another one. So what we're going to do next is we're going to build that shed that I kept alluding to. And this one shows some really cool stuff in it. Okay, so if I go over to the 3D image of my shed, here's just kind of my baseline little shed that I've got here. Obviously, I can change the size of my shed as needed here. And you'll see with this one, we have a lot more, we have some highlighting going on. So if I want to take a look at this particular area here, the trim, if I click on it, you can see it's highlighted. Hey, this is your wood trim for my shed, right? So I can switch that to a different option that I like better. If I click up on the roof up here, it's going to take me to the roof. Right now it's black. Maybe I want a red roof, like the Red Roof Inn, some of the finest hotels in the country, right, guys? Yeah, you can kind of take a look at that. And so here's some of the cool new stuff we have. Let's start looking at the windows and the skylights here. Okay, so I've got a window. By default, my shed comes with a front door so I can get in and out, and it comes with one window, right? So right now, and don't get too hung up on all the wacky stuff over on the left side of the screen here. This is kind of a really new model that's been recently built. So we've got a little bit rough around the edges still, but it shows some really cool functionality that can be done. So, you know, if I want to look at my window, my window one right here, you'll see it's got, you know, some information about the window. Where should the window be placed? Well, it's on the right wall of my shed right now. Okay, so here's my front row. I moved my door. I wasn't supposed to do that. Slap on the wrist for me on that one. Okay, so here's my window. It's on the right wall of my shed. Maybe I want to move it. Maybe I want to move it over to the left wall. Now it's over on the left wall of my shed, right? What I'm also able to do, I might want to move this window, right? Let's put it back over to the right wall. I might want to move this window. So I can reposition this, and you can see there's some parameters around this, right? So you can see I can move, this is as far left as I can move this. So there's some buffer over here, and say, hey, the window must be, you know, 1 foot from the front of the shed, but maybe it can go up to, you know, 3 inches from the bottom or the top of the wall of my shed, right? So we've got some parameters around that of where's the place where you can actually place that window. And as I move this thing around, you'll see I get this drag result in a nice little pretty little JSON format here that tells me where did the user place the thing, X, Y, Z coordinates, right? And then did it detect any collisions? So what are collisions, right? Well, what I can do here is maybe I want to, you can see down here, I can say, hey, do I want to keep this window on the wall? Yes or no, right? Well, you probably want that, but if I turn that off, you know, I can move this window wherever the heck I want, right? But, you know, in practice, it would only make sense to potentially keep that particular window on my shed, right? So I'm going to put it back on the shed. I'm going to turn that back on so that we make a valid configuration. So maybe I want to add a second window. So let's add another window, window 2. Where do I want to place it? Well, I can put it wherever, but I'm going to put it on the right wall with its friendly other friend, the window, right? I'm going to sound like Bob Ross over here now, guys. So I want to keep this window on the wall, right? And maybe I want to move this particular window as well. So what do I want to do? Avoid window collisions. Let's turn this off real quick. I'm going to move this off of its brother, right? And let's say I want to, and you would probably have this all kind of done in the background as well too. You wouldn't want users, you know, toggling this stuff on and off, but I just kind of wanted to be able to show you guys some of the stuff we can do. So you can see now that I have the second window and I've got the collision detection on, I can't move this window over his other window, right? So it's going to force me to make a valid configuration now. So let me actually put these windows in a place where it makes sense. Maybe that's what I think looks good for my shed. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, I could do some transformations on these windows as well too. You know, I can change the position. Maybe I want this window to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to make this, you know, 2 by 2, make it a really big window, right? But just being able to kind of size that various stuff as needed. And you would obviously want to clean this up a little bit more and put all this stuff in the background, but just wanting to kind of show you guys some of the power of what we can do, right? I can also change, so let's see, I talked a little bit about highlights. So right now, if I kind of hover over this thing, you'll see it highlights it yellow. When I'm moving it, it's green. And when it was colliding rather with one of the other windows, it turned red, right? I can actually change this and I can customize just about everything. So right now I've got a thickness of the outline of like 1. I'm go ahead and make that 4. And maybe I want to change, the hover, the highlight from yellow to, I don't know, some kind of a green or something like that. That's not a very good looking color, is it? Let's make it purple, for example. Got to know your hex, right? Is that not a good? That's not a good hex, is it? I've got one pulled up on the side of my screen and I might not have good data. There we go. Okay. So now we got it purple, right? So you can kind of customize this to, you know, you can make it match your branding. You can, you know, make it look good for whatever you want, for example, right? So lots of flexibility, lots of customizability in here in some of these areas. So I'm going to add one more thing to my shed. We want to let some light in here. I'm going to add a skylight. So I got my skylight here now as well. And let's kind of put that, I don't know, somewhere over here in between my windows, right? Okay, so think about this a bit. So building products, things like that, kind of the next level, I'm thinking of taking this kind of a level further, kind of what I'm envisioning for some of this, the power that we have available to us now. Remember the explode view we took a look at earlier. You know, let's explode this shed now, take a look at the interior from kind of a top-down view, right? And then based on the size of my shed, I can add various products or things to it. You know, what do I want to keep in my shed? Well, you know, I've got a toolbox and I got a lawnmower and I got a, you know, pile of bricks or, you know, all the junk we keep in our garage and our shed, right? So, you know, add those various things, keep it kind of open-ended and add some sizing around that. You know, maybe it's a, you know, 2x2 or, you know, 3x4 or something like that. And then be able to actually look kind of down in the shed and position those various things that I've wanted to add to my shed and make sure that I'm picking the right size shed to be able to fit all the junk that I have that I need to store, right? So that's kind of where we're going to be going next with this. Not going to be in this particular, but think about some of the applicability around that, of how that could be really useful to a customer who was building something like this. Okay. Happy with my shed at this point. I'm going to go ahead and finish this configuration as well. And I've got one more for you. And I see got about 18 minutes left. So I'm going to try to go through this last one fast, so I leave some time at the end for Q&A. All right, last thing we're going to do, office chair, right? We'll go ahead and pick this. I want to pull open the 3D image of this office chair. Again, you know, pretty similar to what we've seen thus far. I'm going to go ahead and pick some various things here. I'm going to go ahead and make this configure this particular chair. So I got to choose my seat fabric. We're going to go with something not too crazy. And maybe I want some white mesh here. And then my frame, my base color, I'm going to go with that. Maybe I'll make the seat a color so it's not so boring. Okay, so with this particular model, you'll see I've got this additional option, view in your space. So I want everyone on the webinar, if you can, take out your phones. We should all be used to doing this now. Everything's on a QR code, right, guys? I'm gonna hit this view in your space and it's gonna pop this QR code for me. So pull out your phones, camera, go ahead and scan that QR code and click the link that pops up. Then what's gonna do is it's gonna take you you know, into kind of a first person view of whatever space you're sitting in. Go ahead and kind of orient the camera until it tells you to stop. And then you should be able to see this chair that we just kind of configured together in your home office or your living room or kitchen or wherever the heck it is that you're working, right? So go ahead and give that a try, and you can actually view this particular chair and see if it would be a good fit for your office space and an upgrade to whatever you're currently using. I know I could personally use one, but that's the story. So has
Matt,
everybody
people are doing that? You want a question or two?
Sure, hit me.
One was, is enterprise quoting included in the CPQ subscription? So enterprise quoting itself is included when you buy CPQ. When you buy CPQ Cloud, the only thing that is not included is if you want to then open this up externally to your customers, dealers, or distributors, there is a very small additional license for external licenses of enterprise quoting. But for your internal users, you should, it is included, but it is a per user license. All right, and then one more question is, how advanced are the models in EQ currently? For example, could a customer bring their own dimensions for room backgrounds in order to see a sofa in their room? Or can the customer upload their own backgrounds or utilize AR from their mobile device to see a product? And so I responded back and said, we're doing a demonstration of that, which we're doing now. And the only thing I didn't know is, can customers upload their own backgrounds, or do you recommend just doing it through the AR?
So I would probably recommend doing the AR in that case. I would foresee that being possible. We have the concept of scenes here. So you'll probably notice, most of the stuff that I configured, just kind of had white, boring background. We've got some shadows and stuff in there, but it's super customizable what you can do with the actual visualization technology here. I could have this chair sitting out in a cornfield if I wanted to. So, if I made big farm machinery, maybe I want to see that as my scene. You as the as the manufacturer or the user of the system, you can dictate what kind of scenes that you want to see, and you can have multiples too. You might have an option on the left here and say, visualize it. Where do you want to visualize it, right? Do you want it in a city? Do you want it in a field, like I mentioned before? Do you want it, what time of day do you want it at? Even you could say, I want to see it at noon, or I want to see it at dusk, or something like that. And the actual lighting of the scene on the product here would change accordingly, as well as things like the shadows, what's being highlighted by where the light source is coming from, right? And you have multiple light sources you can choose, sunlight, bright office lighting, things like that. All those things are going to change the way the product looks. So obviously, certain applications, certain products are going to look good with certain lighting. So this chair, I would probably choose kind of I would choose sort of a fluorescent type lighting as opposed to a direct sunlight, for example. But as far as like having users upload their own scene, I could conceive it being possible, although I don't know if I would potentially recommend it. Because it just might not look good, and then you kind of lose control over it at that point. Because anytime you kind of introduce user custom stuff in there, people are going to do weird stuff, right? Someone's going to upload a picture of their cat, right? And they're going to be like, well, it'll look good. Well, it doesn't, right? So yeah, possible, but probably not recommended.
And then one last question, and then we'll when you integrate EQ into an e-commerce solution, does the end user have to have access to, or have to have a login?
No, so that would utilize essentially anonymous authentication at that point. So yeah, obviously, if you guys remember back to the slide, another use case for this would be plugging in the configurator, the CPQ utility, into your own company website. And in that case, essentially, there's no licensing required for the individual users. How it's done is typically by numbers of sessions, and you basically buy like a block of sessions, and it's a lot of sessions too. But that allows anonymous authentication, so someone can come in here and use it. You don't have to worry about licensing anonymous people.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, no problem. All right, so last step here, I've got all of my various products added to my cart. I've got a whole bunch of different things on here, right? So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to print, I'm going to generate my document, and I'm going to create my quote document here, my bid document with all of my dynamic images that I just created out of here. Gives me my dynamic proposal to my customer, to my contact here. Again, another product that's automatically included in your CPQ license is the dynamic document generation. So you can see here all my images, my truck cover, I got my semi-trailer, got my hot tub, my transformer, my shed, and my office chair. And they are shown in the document to my customer as well. Total price, terms and conditions. And yeah, this is ready to go. And I can take this document, I can save it to my quote, and I can come right up here and I can email it directly out of my system. And I can send it to whomever, to send it to myself, right? And go ahead and attach that document, boom, and send it off. Done. Quick, easy proposal generation, dynamic, and nice to look at as well too. All right, so I've got 10 or so minutes left, and I am more than happy to entertain any and all questions at this point in time. So do we have any that came in through the Q&A in the chat, other than what we've already touched on?
We do.
Okay.
One is, and I think we kind of touched on it, but just to reiterate, can CPQ integrate with e-commerce platforms and CRM?
Yes, it can. We have an agnostic e-commerce adapter that can be plugged into any e-commerce solution that you may choose. Some of the big ones, Magento, Shopify, things like that, obviously supported, but it's, like I said, it's solution agnostic. Same with CRM.
Gotcha. And then another question is, does it have flexible pricing? So if we have different prices for specific customers, is that handled?
Yeah, absolutely. So we support, I mean, the P in CPQ is price, right? And price to a lot of people on the manufacturing side of things, it can also equate to cost. We support whatever your pricing methodology is, right? Catalog pricing, list pricing, customer specific pricing, pricing with potentially quantity breaks or things like that can be supported. I've seen people do promotions as well too. Cost plus pricing, margins, markups. You can see here's my price, my detailed pricing sheet. I've got all my list prices essentially come back here, but I may want to do a margin, a markup, or a multiplier on top of this. This is just kind of a free for all worksheet here at this point, but maybe I want to add a 20% markup to this as well too. And then also sneakily give them a 10% discount as well, right? But yeah, we support any and all pricing methodologies you may have. And another thing too is, we have controls around this. So you can see here, I may have exceeded a discount threshold that I'm able to give as this particular user who's logged into the system. Maybe my cap is only, I can give up to a 5% discount, but another user might be able to give up to a 50% discount, for example. But we also have embedded workflows and approval processes that can be customized to your particular business needs to be able to handle situations such as that.
Awesome. And then two more questions here so far.
Sure.
So one is, if you are integrating EQ to the e-commerce, does it allow for standard items from Sightline and not just configured items?
Absolutely. Yep. I'll show that real quick as well too. So I've shown you all the configured stuff. So here in my product catalog, you'll see I have a whole bunch of different categories on the left, configurable being a big one, all this stuff here. It'll show you what they are in the catalog. So, this truck is configurable, this awning is configurable, right? I don't actually have I should have a category here for non-configurable, but that's pretty much kind of everything else. So I can search for it, for example, if I knew what the part number was, but I know that if I kind of go a couple of different pages here. Let's see, we got a whole bunch of non-configurable stuff here as well too. So let me go ahead and find one. I want to find something with a price. Of course, a lot of this stuff has zero, but here's something. So if I need to add a couple of additional parts, if I need this part number here, this one's non-configurable and it's priced at $10, maybe I need 3 of these here. Let's add that to my cart, and I'll add 2 of these as a freebie as well too. We can add those as well too. And those are going to be synchronized. We can synchronize the product catalog from your ERP or your CRM or wherever your product or item master is stored. That can be synchronized automatically to enterprise quoting. So we can see I've got now my indoor wireless receiver, and these assembly coils have been added here as well too, and their associated prices, if any.
Awesome. And then the last question I see is, can the quote include other documents in the output that the customer sees or prospect sees?
Absolutely. So I can show that as well too. Let me go back here and let me remove this discount. So you can see, because I had that discount on there and it was pending an approval, it locked down the entire quote. So I wasn't actually able to then generate the print document or convert this thing to an order yet. So that's just another kind of safety net or catch we have available in the system to keep people from doing things that they shouldn't. Okay. So in addition to that, let me go ahead and let me find, I've got a whole bunch of different documents, but let me find something real quick to highlight this example. Let's see. Bear with me. So let's say I want to add some drawings to this. So we've got really great dynamic images now generated out of the system, but let's say, we're not there yet, or we have someone else, we're still in a manual process where somebody does the drawings by hand, or maybe we have a third party manufacturer or something like that, and they create the drawings for us. So what I can do is I can go up here and I can go to attachments, and I'm going to add an attachment to my quote here. And I can also add attachments at the line level as well too, before anybody asks, wherever you really need them. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to find a document. So let's say I want to add this particular document to my quote. So let's go ahead and add that in there. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to print my quote again. Okay. And you'll see here, I've got this little checkbox and it's going to say include attachments. So I can say yes or no to that, right? Along with all these other options about how do I want to show this document when I print it out. Okay. But I'm going to include these attachments. And now when I go to preview here, what it's going to do is going to take that PDF document attachment that I added, and it's going to stitch it into my quote document. So here's my document again. And if I go all the way down to the bottom here, past my terms and conditions, which was the last thing we had in our document, now you'll see, hey, I've got all of these additional schematics and drawings attached in here as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, we easily support that. And yeah, you can add as many or as few as you would like.
Great. And then one more popped in. Does CPQ work with EDI?
CPQ can work with EDI. It really kind of, that's a very, very, very broad question that I wouldn't want to necessarily get into the nitty gritty of during this session. I would say that's probably a good one where we have a little bit more of a conversation before I say emphatically yay or nay. But essentially, we have within the Infor operating services umbrella, if you will, we have Infor Ion available. That's a really great data interchange middleware type of software that allows you to transfer data from disparate systems from A to B to C, right? So, I mean, theoretically, yeah, we should be able to use that from whatever your host system is, or in conjunction with one of your EDI type platforms to be able to get the data from where you need it into the system. So, but I'd like to probably explore that a little bit further. So, yeah, if you can maybe take down who had that question, maybe that's a good one for us to follow up on.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. So I think that's it in terms of questions. Thanks to all the participants. There's some great questions on here. And
yeah, appreciate it. I'm glad it wasn't just crickets and me sitting here staring at the screen. I'd have to come up with some other way to fill some time. So I'm glad some people had some things they wanted to know more about. And I guess, I actually did pretty good on time too. Obviously there's a ton more here to show. As well too. So, if you're a current customer and this is interesting to you, I'm more than happy to spend additional one-on-one time in an interactive type of fashion with you or your teams to show you more about this. Or if CPQ is brand new to you, there's so much more than I could cover in an hour here, but would absolutely love to show you some of the power of the system as well, and really talk more about the ways that this can revolutionize your business. So yeah, I guess I can put my contact info back up here again. Feel free if you have additional questions after this. It's just matt.spanulo@godlan.com. I'm here for you guys. I'm here to make our prospects, our customers successful. Really would love to have further conversations about any and all topics around CPQ. So feel free to reach out to me if anything comes to your mind, or if you want to see more, I am more than happy to talk till I'm blue in the face about it. So
great. Well, thanks, Matt, and thanks everybody for participating. Have a great afternoon.
My pleasure. Thank you everyone for coming, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.